Good morning, everybody. My name is Amie. First of all, I'd just like to thank you for inviting us here to give a talk today about Actif Woods. It's great to hear the other presentations and to hear about how everyone's working together on this agenda, and all the presentations kind of touched on some of the things that I'm going to talk about, and in fact some of the things are already in my slides as well, so I'll try and add to what Malcolm's already said. I'm here with Maggie. So I'm the manager for Coed Lleol, and Maggie is the Newport Talbot mentor and works in the local area. And we're going to talk to you today about three main topics. The first one is social prescribing and what that means for Actif Woods. The second is about the health benefits of being in woodlands and what we're doing with others to try and measure that. And the third is about the value of working in partnerships to grow and develop the environment and health services that we can all offer together. So just briefly, I'm going to give you a little introduction to Actif Woods for people who don't know it already. At the moment, it's a project of Coed Lleol, which is small woods in Wales, and it's funded currently through Natural Resources Wales and the European Social Fund. And then we have lots of other local funders like Newport Talbot Council, who fund projects in the local areas. And Actif Woods has been running since the end of 2010, so about 7 years now, and it was born out of this idea that there is a lot of health deprivation in pockets across Wales and health inequalities. So in some areas of Wales, people have a life expectancy of 20 years less than others. And the idea of Actif Woods was to try and tackle those health inequalities in certain areas and target those areas. And at the same time, as Malcolm's already talked about, there's growing evidence, or there's plenty of evidence out there to show the benefits of woodlands for health and well-being. And in Japan, Shinrin Yoku is actually prescribed regularly, and it's a whole way of improving health and well-being. There's actually a great book, which is very easy to read, called The Art and Science of Forest Bathing, and I think it's going to become something that's all over the media at the moment, and it's going to become more of a movement. And in fact, I know you said it was niche, but in fact I think essentially it's just getting out in the woods and using our senses, mindfulness in the woodlands really, to have a gentle walk or sit there in the woods and enjoy it. Malcolm already talked about biophilia and this idea that we have this innate need to be connected to nature for our own health and well-being. And Richard Louv said that when we don't spend enough time outdoors, we develop nature deficit disorder, and then we get an increase in mental health and physical health issues. So just briefly, we work in 9 different areas across Wales, 4 in South Wales, 4 in North, and then Ceredigion in the middle. And 2 of those areas were pilot areas, and then the project's grown over the last 6 years. We've got 4 main objectives. The first is to improve physical, mental and social well-being, and we've worked with over 3,000 people running regular activities in woodland environments. And those are a broad range of activities depending on what the clients want to do. So it could be woodland walking or bushcraft or willow weaving. And the aim is to meet the needs of the participants. The group that you can see there are doing woodland gym, so that's using the woodland environment to do gym exercises. Not all groups want to do that, but some do. The second area of work is around increasing skills and capacity. So we want to kind of build health professionals with woodland skills, and on the other side, build woodland skilled people with understanding of health and well-being, so that more and more people can run this type of activity. The third area is around developing woodlands themselves and developing the woodland sites. So we also work with community woodland groups like Elsey-Cox we're here today. So we're developing those areas to work in. And the fourth objective is about sharing and building the evidence base of what we're doing and trying to demonstrate that woodlands are brilliant for health and well-being. So we go to conferences and we run our own workshops and events too. So what does social prescribing mean? I guess everybody here will have heard of social prescribing, and essentially it's about the health sector referring into activities so that patients themselves can co-produce what they know will help their own health and well-being. And I feel, at one time I wondered if we were doing social prescribing. Actually, it's become evident to me that Actif Woods is very much doing social prescribing, in that we have referrals from a whole range of health partners. We had a GP referral form and we wanted GPs to fill this in, and because that wasn't being filled in, I wondered if we were doing it. But actually, we're getting referrals through a phone call or an email or a conversation, and over 50% of the people referring in are kind of within the NHS, so it might be an occupational therapist or a hospital. So we run a wide range of programmes. And then it's really important to us that we're understanding the impact of what we're doing. Neris worked with us on looking at the health impact assessment of what we're doing, and we have found that for our project workers and people in the woods, it's quite hard to have the time to assess the health impact assessment. So we're working with different universities who have PhD students who then come and work with us on understanding that, which is really invaluable. So our early research found that there's a whole broad range of health issues that people come with. I don't know if you can see them all there, but really wide-ranging from mental health to wanting to lose weight to just wanting to be with other people. And what the early research showed us was that physical activity increased by 1.3 days, and those with lower levels of well-being improved more than those with higher levels. So really targeting those people who need it most is really important. So at the moment we have 2 PhD student studies. One is with Heli Gittens from Bangor University. She's using medically accepted questionnaires and tools, as well as focus groups, to look at the long-term impact of joining an Actif Woods group, whether that, when they stop attending 3 months down the line, does it still have an impact. She's also looking at the access to woodlands and whether, if you come for a programme, do you then go back to the woodlands on your own. The other research is by Swansea University with Ed Lord, who is being a participant observer, so he's attending the sessions as a participant and understanding what it feels like to participate and talking to people kind of more in a person-to-person rather than kind of interviewing and questioning them. And some of the main themes that are coming out of it are that the woods offers a break to people from their thoughts and their daily lives, and that the sensory experience is really important to them. It also gives them a change in identity, so instead of thinking about what all their problems are, or their illness, or their pain, they're thinking about how they're a woods person, or they're Bear Grylls, and how they want to take what they've learned, the woodland skills they've learned, back to their community. So there's a behaviour change and an identity change. So one of the last slides I want to show you before I hand over to Maggie is this, which is really exciting to me. So this is an author called Bob Watson. I was at a presentation recently that he gave, and he showed the tree and how all of the oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange, how valuable that is for us. And then not only that, and I think this goes back to something that Malcolm was saying, that the tree actually produces phytoncides to protect itself from bacteria and disease. And it's these phytoncides that are actually beneficial to humans and boost our immune system. So this is kind of Shrinrin Yoku in a biological sense in action. So, yeah, I think it's beneficial for all of us to get out there, even just to sit under a tree. It's something we should all be including more in our daily lives, and I know I'm trying to do that more. So the last thing is just about balancing the needs of stakeholders. So Actif Woods is a partnership project. Everywhere we work, we gather together the landowners, wildlife trust, woodland owners, the participants and referral agencies, and we work together to work out what we can offer in that area. And participants want engaging programs that meet their needs and interests. They don't want lots of paperwork. Health boards want kind of standards and frameworks and qualified leaders and measured outcomes, which obviously does potentially require paperwork. Funders want sustainability and value for money and things to be volunteer-led. But if we want to offer therapeutic programs, there also needs to be money paid to the leaders themselves to run those programs. So, I'm now going to hand over to Maggie, who's going to talk about the partnership working we've been doing with East Port Talbot.
Hello, I'm Maggie. I am the Actif Wood Wales mentor for East Port Talbot. I'm also the Working with Nature events coordinator for East Port Talbot Countryside and Wildlife team. So I work across both the roles with my job share, Lleol, who's not here today. You only have me for 5 minutes and then we're going to have tea. So this is a very quick presentation. So just to summarise, Coed, Lleol and East Port Talbot Council, the Countryside and Wildlife team have worked together since 2013, where they acted as my host, or the host organisation for my post as project officer for Actif Wood Wales. During that time, we've been linking environmental and health through weekly woodland activity programmes, and this collaboration has resulted in joint funding bids and other health and wellbeing projects, including the Working with Nature project and the Dyffryn Railway Community Wildlife projects in the Avon Valley. So I thought I'd start things off by just a quote from one of our very recent participants. "It's awesome being outdoors when most of my time is spent under a blanket indoors. Thanks for the confidence building and new skills." So we have had numerous groups over the years. This photo here shows one of our recent groups from Banwyn. They actually took part in 2 12-week programmes with activities including foraging, tree ID, woodland cooking, or like we mentioned earlier, sometimes just sitting around a fire having a cup of tea. The group have particularly complex health needs, so some days just getting them into the woods from the car park is enough. And we have a cup of tea and we chat, and that's the session. Also through this group then, we have applied for additional funding and once opened up woodlands that was once fenced off. This group also accessed sessions through the Working with Nature programme and probably most importantly have set up their own constituted group. So although they're not part of the Actif Wood Wales groups anymore, they have set up Save Our Sanity, which is a weekly walking group, and they sort of come along to some of our training sessions with Working with Nature and volunteer with Lleol on some of his sessions as well. Other Actif Wood Wales groups this year have included links with the social services and in particularly the local area coordinators and Mind, the mental health charity. So as I mentioned, some of the Actif Woods participants have moved on to other volunteering with the Working with Nature project. This is an RDP funded project, 3 years aimed at building the capacity of local groups, people to look after their local green spaces. On the screen you can see some of our targets, some of you will be interested in, some of you won't, and some of the achievements we've done this year. It's run until next year and we hope in the future, depending on funding, to be able to expand into urban wards as well. So these are just for the rural wards of East Port Talbot. This is just a map of some of the woodlands we use in East Port Talbot and some of the wards there on the right. We use a mixture of council-owned woodlands, NRW woodlands, woodland trusts, some community councils. I should add as well, since I drew up this map, we also work in the Avon Valley with the Dyffryn Railway project. You can see Mark's done some work with the amphibian and reptiles up there as well. As part of all 3 projects, we work really closely with the management plans of the woodlands and LNRs. This is really important for the biodiversity team in East Port Talbot. And through these management plans then, we develop our work days and our volunteer task days. Some of the pictures here, you can see the orchard planting. So we planted an orchard with Welsh variety apples. So some varieties that have sort of gone out of fashion or people haven't heard of anymore. We planted trees that were sort of 3 to 5 years old, so hopefully they've got a bit more of a chance and less chance of getting vandalised. scrub and invasive management. Groups with Actif Wood Wales and Working with Nature have almost completely eradicated the invasive evergreen honeysuckle from Glanweed Plantation. Meadow management for wildflowers. On our walk yesterday with Dan in Butte Park, I spoke about the scything exercises we did. So we had an expert come in, sort of teach us traditional scything methods, which the volunteers really, really enjoyed. We then scythed the meadow. We've been looking after this meadow that hasn't been seen to for years. Had a habitat surveyor come in, and then all the amazing wildflowers, orchids and stuff that are starting to arise. And again, we'll be surveying it next spring, so hopefully we'll have some more reports on that. The budget for the Working with Nature project has allowed us to do sort of bigger tasks. So I think it's an NRW vehicle actually down here, where we dredged one of our ponds. Again, it's absolutely buzzing with life this year. Created habitat paths with the groups and just sort of awareness raising, and also working with local historical groups in where our woodlands have sort of features or old houses to restore them. So volunteering opportunities, I think one of the reasons this partnership has been so successful is that each project can refer on to each other. So if I have participants that come onto the Actif Woods programme that I don't feel are suitable, or they don't meet some of our current guidelines for funding, then they can be referred on to the Working with Nature programme or the Deaf and Railway programme. And again, it works back the other way. So we're working with Autism Society, lots of different groups across our local nature reserves. Engaging the next generation, Working with Nature and Deaf and Railway both work with local schools. To date, we've worked with 10 of the primary schools, one comprehensive school in the Avon Valley, with lots of child-focused events going on in sort of half terms and summer holidays. Down here, bottom right, one of the most popular events, working with Woodland Classroom on our Minecraft Day. So it's a video gaming event for video gamers, but taken outside into the woods. So we get them dressed up and acting out. I think parents see it as free childcare. So we engage with a range of health, social and environmental organisations, and this has been a key feature of the collaboration with the local authority. As we all know, the local authorities are feeling the pinch and the financial pressures. So we, as project officers, are able to build these partnerships through training days, stakeholder days, awareness raising and taster days, and in turn have been able to encourage behavioural change for both participants and the staff that work within the health sphere. And I think that is a really important point, is that often the carers, the people that work within Mind, the people that work within the hospitals and the mental health units are often apprehensive to go out into the woods or local nature reserves themselves. Sometimes some of these units are right next to woodlands and they've never accessed them, they've never been in them, and just taking them in there, having a walk, letting them know who owns the woodland, whether it's local council or someone else, just letting them know all these things and that they can access it with participants. That is allowed, and they can, our end goal, I think, is for these organisations to carry on and keep going out into the woodlands and to local nature reserves without us. So, hopefully we won't be needed one day and everyone will just embed this into what they do. So next steps, again, all dependent on funding. I know it's a theme yesterday, it came up a lot. With the Working with Nature project, we would love to expand into some of the urban wards. We would love to continue with our joint funding bids. We've got lots of going round. Amy's been to lots of meetings. We would love to continue this partnership and develop it. Accredited training, so lots of organisations have come back to us and said that's what they want for their groups, including the job centres. Established volunteer groups, friends of groups. We want people to go back to these woodlands, care for them. Some groups will want to be constituted, others won't. And just improve our partnership working. Thank you for listening.